Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Ivy's Gaming Tech. So today we're going to be having a lot of fun. We're going to be installing the brand new Ryzen 9 3900X into our old X370 gaming Pro Carbon motherboard from MSI. So I've had this motherboard for over 2 years now. I originally had a Ryzen 1700 in it, and the Ryzen 2700X came out. I installed that into it, and now we're going to see what the performance is like installing the Ryzen 3900X. Super excited, can't wait. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. Remember to hit that thumbs up button for me if you enjoy the content, and if you want to see more in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button. So in my current setup, I have a Ryzen 2700X, again on the X370 motherboard. I also have a 2080 Ti from Evga that I installed a hybrid water cooler on. I'm running with 32 gigabytes of 3200 speed DDR4 memory. I also have a captured card and a sound card. The CPU is running with a cooler, and let's run some benchmarks on the current 2700X CPU now. So first we ran some Cinebench, and speeds were always pretty good on Cinebench with the 2700X, but again, nowhere near what the single core speeds of Intel could offer. So our maximum speed with an overclock was at 1828 in Cinebench. Next, we loaded up some Valley. I wanted to keep the gaming results pretty realistic. I game at 1440p, so this is definitely a GPU-bound test tsince I have the 2080 Ti and this matches out the graphics card. But I wanted to see what kind of improvements I would get switching over to the Ryzen 9 processor. And with a score of let's see here, 4,325, not too shabby on the 2700X. And then next we ran a user bench, which is a all-encompassing benchmark, and we got a gaming score of 163, desktop of 136, and workstation of 149. And I can't wait to see how this improves once we get the new CPU installed. So the next step was to head on over to MSI's website and grab the BIOS for the X370 Gaming Pro Carbon. Now, if you have an X370 motherboard, you need to make sure that your vendor supports the new CPUs, and by heading to their website and make sure they have a BIOS version available that will support the new 3000 series Ryzen processors. So all we had to do was update the BIOS using the current 2700 chip, and once that BIOS was installed, which is very simple, just got to make sure you follow the instructions for that. The next step was to disassemble the machine and install the Ryzen 9 processor. Alright, with the new processor installed, we loaded up into the new BIOS, and I was surprised to see that the BIOS look and feel was very old school. They had to reduce the size of the BIOS to fit all the new features, so they took out all the graphical interfaces. But to my surprise, there were a lot of features that were now added that were not in the previous BIOS. So going into the advanced CPU configuration, we had some options that were not there for the 2700X, including the new performance boost overdrive, precision boost overdrive, excuse me, and it had all the new enhanced modes. So we should see some amazing benefit from having that PBO. Also, core performance boost is there. I believe this is still the first gen core performance boost. Core performance boost 2 was not added until the 400 series motherboard. So I'm not sure how that really works, since we have PBO but not core performance 2. But regardless, let's test it up and see how the benchmarks run. Holy shit. And I was very surprised with that huge increase in the speed when running Cinebench. We went from up to 31,000, which is 3,100, which is just crazy. It's almost double what we had. Running Valley, again, we are mostly GPU bound when running Valley. So compared to what we got on the 2700X, the improvements were not great, but we did see an improvement even in a GPU bound title. So we went up to 4,446 on the score in Valley. We gained about 4 or 5 frames per second, but again, it was mostly GPU bound. Looking at user bench, we went all the way up to a gaming score of 174%, a desktop score of 152%, and a workstation score of 174%, which is just huge gains. Digging in a little bit deeper into the user bench results, my graphics score increased by quite a bit. It went from 230% up to 237%. Again, this is with the exact same GPU. My main NVMe SSD increased from 216% to 234%, topping out at some, compared to everyone else's results on that same Samsung drive. And most surprising was the improvements I saw on my RAM, going from 106% up to 112%, and just getting huge improvements in the speeds, even though I didn't change those parts out at all, just by changing the processor. So that those IPC improvements and the improvements to the processor have just been huge, and I'm so thrilled with it. Alright guys, that was super awesome. I am so super pumped with the performance we are getting out of this chip on the X370 platform. I think it's just amazing that AMD and the board partners have chosen to include support for these newer chips on the older platforms like B350 and X370. I can highly recommend using these newer chips on those older platforms. VRM thermals may be a bit of a concern, but as long as you have good airflow over your VRMs, I've not seen any issues so far. I appreciate you guys for being here today. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing more in the future. Thanks very much for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys all next time.